All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Are we here? Oh my God, we are. I'll tell you the truth. I didn't know if we'd make it on today, and this is one of the reasons that Kim and Albert will tell you I become particularly annoyed when there are members of our stalwart crew, that is to say, that group of people that show up and support the show. So I'm kind of loath to criticize them, but then they come after me saying, "Oh, Mark started the show late because it's a sign of disrespect." Guys, we start the show late because I'm trying to solve a bunch of last-minute technical things. You know, it is crazy. Even right now, I'm on a 1-bar 5G line because the cable internet, which is hardwired into the studio, is no good. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. And, I want to talk to a manager, is what I'm telling you.
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
I don't know. Casey gets it. Casey gets it. It's awful.
And I also want to know what happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this week.
I mean, when you add this all up, it's one indignity after another. And then I come on, after having, pulled the show together, done all this reading, chased all these videos, lined up all these guests, then I have to play like MacGyver to get the goddamn show on the air. And then people give me a hard time for being a few minutes late. How dare they?
Why are you yelling?
It's outrageous. Albert, you get it, don't you? You understand my frustration.
Albert, thank you.
It's the Mark Thompson show. So when Mark Thompson begins the show, that's the only time. When he wants to start it, he could start it.
You know what we need around here? A little more Albert. A little more Albert.
Albert, thank you.
That is the attitude we need. A little more of Albert's attitude.
My weed smoker's at.
Yeah, chill it out, baby. Chill it out.
We're in better shape, but I don't think we're in wildly better shape.
I sadly agree. Kim is here as well.
Kim, how are you?
And Kim has been also very helpful in pulling everything together. We have a great Friday show. It's very Friday. And here's why I say that. Because, and I don't know when you're going to be listening or watching this show. I know most people take it in sort of after the fact. But it is a Friday. And there's a lot of heavy political news. I've got news about Trump polling. In a way, it's sort of the other shoe that you knew would drop. And I have a lot of news, of course, about Venezuela and the free fall that I think is the reality of what's happening in the world of the Pentagon. And a lot of this we'll talk about with Michael Shure and Mo Kelly, who join in hour 2 as we review the week. I will tell you the special stuff that's happening in hour 1. That's why I say it's kind of a Friday thing, is one of my favorite people alive is running for Congress. And you know him, and he's a friend of the show. J-L Cauvin will join us, the wonderful Trump impersonator. He does the RFK Jr. impression. And he is a really smart guy. I've spent a long time talking to JL, and he is super brilliant. And you know of his brilliance if you take in his podcast, because he does a podcast, one where he is Trump, does the whole thing riffing as Trump, and the other just when he's giving you his takes on what's happening. And so I've contributed to his campaign already, and I'd love to see him. Oh, have you? And Kim has as well. So, it's a righteous battle he's fighting, and I'm hoping very much to at least get a few of you on board with that as well, and just to give him some oxygen on what I think is, as I say, not an easy climb into the legislature. So we will see. Then the real gift I have for you today that doesn't have anything to do with politics has to do with something that many of you, I think, just because of the era from which you've come, and in which your life has sort of reverberated, you grew up with, or on some level you were exposed to, Johnny Carson and The Tonight Show. And we've got a Johnny Carson super fan who does a podcast about Johnny Carson, now has a book out about Johnny Carson. I had him on the radio with me in Los Angeles, and it was such a good conversation. I said, I really would love to get you on with the Mark Thompson show and the podcast. And so that's what's going to happen. It'll happen in just a few minutes. Yeah. Mark Malkoff will join us, and we'll get into that. So there's a lot to get to, and we will get to it. Before I get to some of that, I've got just a couple of minutes. So let's get you into a couple of things that are happening in the world of Washington.
Mark Thompson Show.
Thank you for being here, everybody. Great to have you in. And in the spirit of news that is breaking, some of which is heavy, some of which is a bit lighter, I'll mention that Donald Trump received an award. You know, he wants that Nobel Peace Prize, as you're aware, right? But
some more gold for the Oval, huh?
Yeah. What's that? Bowling for the Oval?
Some more gold for the Oval?
Oh, more gold for the Oval.
Yeah.
This is the FIFA folk who were there, right? The soccer or football people. And I believe, I don't know if Albert has a picture of it. I don't know that we, but he did grab this huge World Cup trophy and say to the FIFA president, something to the effect that I'm going to hang on to this. It was very Putin-esque, the way he just wanted to hang on to it. And apparently and this Lee Kopp sent us some information about the actual trophy. It's $680,000 worth of gold. So again, I don't know that he actually hung on to it, but the other thing that is happening is that he got a weird prize from the FIFA people. And, you know, FIFA, you can see him holding the trophy, and there he is with the FIFA president. And while he's wearing the red MAGA hat, Trump is wearing the red MAGA hat, for those just listening and not seeing it. But he got a FIFA Peace Prize. And it's a bizarre thing since it doesn't really exist prior to this. I think the FIFA people, well aware that Trump wanted a Nobel Peace Prize, served up this FIFA Peace Prize.
It's like an ass-kissing prize.
Yeah. No, it is a clear ass kiss.
They are kissing my ass.
It's true. Trump said the award was, quote, one of the great honors of his life. Yeah.
I mean, the FIFA committee and the FIFA guys are just historically corrupt, which is kind of funny because us sports people, we all know how dirty all these people are. So it's kind of right on par.
Albert is so right. The commissioner makes the point about this. FIFA is notoriously, I mean, rotten to the core, to the point that they've had major house cleanings, and they kind of tried to change their image and reboot it. But the reality is FIFA continues to be this completely on-the-take, pay-to-play organization. So the idea that they would meet a couple of gangsters here, Trump and the FIFA president, and then they would, give one gangster a trophy for being, the most peaceful man on earth or whatever, is just laughable. It's really funny. And, I think there's all sorts of other transactional stuff going on. Trump was talking about ticket sales being strong and all this kind of thing. Then he just goes into Don King mode, where he's just kind of a huckster for the FIFA World Cup. But anyway, Trump's got his Peace Prize, but it's from FIFA, not from the Nobel Committee. So that's the way that works.
We feel bad for you. We're going to give you a Peace Prize surprise.
Yeah, that's true too. It's a
consolation
pity prize.
Peace Prize. Yeah, exactly.
It's the ass-kissing pity prize. Also, I'll mention. I've got a pretty big news out of Hollywood, and I'll mention it in greater detail when I get to that story. But it involves the Saudis and it involves Netflix, and we'll get to both those stories. I know. As we continue, there's a lot going on this Friday, so we'll keep it going.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Can't believe it. One of my favorite people alive is going to be in Congress. Could it be? I hope so. J-L Cauvin, who is a fan favorite, yes, friend of the show, announced that he was running for Congress. And after making that announcement, he had to grab all of these signatures. Remember, he, on a holiday weekend had to grab, 500 signatures? So he's going to like Starbucks and, Home Depot, and having to wade through the ice raids to find people who will sign a petition. But he did it, and apparently is successfully on the ballot. How about it for J.L. Cauvin?
Thank you. Just for clarity, I actually participated in some of the ice raids.
Oh, is he having? He's having connection issues, or is that me, Albert?
Mark, I think that's you. We're all set here.
Okay, so why don't you talk to JL, because I don't.
I can hear him. Yeah, he's high.
Okay. I always assume it's my fault.
No, it's not your fault.
I was just saying, per what Mark said, I actually participated in some of the ice raids because it's amazing how pliant people are to sign your petition if you're threatening them with deportation.
Oh, that was a great idea.
Yeah, I think outside the box. No, obviously it was a ton of work. We got 619 signatures. And one of the great things about this was how many friends, fans, and people I didn't know who just friends had vouched for me took petitions to their neighborhood or to their school and got, every signature really did count. It was both an extremely frustrating experience at times and then a very rewarding one because, in this day and age, getting people to stop to talk to you when you know them is difficult. Stopping strangers nowadays to be like, excuse me, stop looking at your phone. May I annoy you for 30 to 60 seconds? See? My dog.
Even your dog doesn't want to talk to you.
If I'm blaming them if I don't fundraise correctly. Guys, let's go. Come here.
No, we like people with animals. I was reading an article about you in the Montclair local news.
Yes.
And it talked about the your history and all, but it also talked about how crowded this field is. How many people are on the ballot here against you?
One person has dropped out so far, so it's 12. We've lowered it to 12. It is a lot. Everybody kind of anticipated this. I'm obviously one of the candidates that really wasn't on any radar. I think even though I've been discussing it with people since on the very down low since the spring. I just, I think it's a campaign with, the Mark Thompson audience sort of knows me. They know what I do. They know what kind of person I am and that I'm also funny. But I just thought to myself, I work during the day as a lawyer in eviction prevention. And so when people talk about affordability, I go, yeah, groceries and gas, of course, those are everyday expenses. But beneath the middle and upper middle class struggles are some deep poverty issues and some crises that are only going to get worse under Trump. And I also I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I looked at the party and said, is there something I can bring to the table? Not as a outsider cynic who's like, the Democratic Party is useless. I look at the fact, I think there is a problem in this country and it can't all be solved with good messaging. But when MAGA can continue to get, 49 to 51% of the vote, we have a major problem that isn't just the fault of Democrats, but that maybe some skills that I have in engagement, in communicating, can be of service both in the district, but also being fair to the party at large.
I went to your website to donate to your campaign.
Thank you.
And yes, I did. I threw a little cash in there and noticed on your website that you don't just have concepts of a plan, you actually have some plans. You've thought things through. You have some serious writing on your website about things that you hope to pass.
Yeah, no, my campaign manager, ChatGPT, has been essential in putting this together. No, I'm kidding, of course. What I'm telling people, and this, as I'm sure you guys may not be surprised, getting money, raising money and getting me in front of people are the two challenges right now, because I had my first sort of small town hall in Madison, New Jersey last night, and it was just me and one other candidate. And was I flawless? Of course not. But what was fun about it, interesting, is that I could tell that I was bringing something fresh, both in ideas and presentation. I'm not up there doing an Andrew Dice Clay act, of course, but I'm just communicating in a normal, engaging way. And I could tell people liked it. And some people came up to me, they go, it's a crowded field, but I hope you stay involved. Like if, odds are not in your favor just because 12 candidates now and a few heavy hitters. I'm aware of that this is a long shot candidacy, but it's refreshing to see people liking, hearing you and meeting you and speaking with you and then wanting you to stay involved. That's sort of a testament to like the impression I can make. And I think, we're in that period now. Getting signatures was hard, but it feels less gross than going for money. And as you can see in this picture, my father, very happy at my baptism.
I love the little baby JL pictures. So
not
cute.
Not so little. That's me with Jay Inslee, the governor. I'm not saying he endorsed me, but if you want to, just completely assume that out of thin air, be my guest. But it is a grueling. I'm telling you, this has been a grueling process already. But it's when you see people commit to you, have some faith in you, work for you, that gives you the strength to do this. And I just think as a longtime Democrat who is always annoyed at I get that the Democratic Party is not perfect, but I can't believe we're still in a phase where some people have more smoke for the Democrats and how they've been inefficient. You can be mad at them not shutting the government down or shutting the government down. But I mean, Donald Trump, just today, you were just bringing up, Netflix and HBO, I assume was going to be the story. And I laughed going, a normal FTC, and I said this last night during the town hall, I said, we've got 400 Rockefellers walking around and no Sherman antitrust anymore. Nobody breaking up. And we've never had more power, abusive power, consolidation of obscene wealth. HBO and Netflix should not be merged. This should not happen. I'm sorry. That's like such an easy one to say. And maybe when it starts hitting people in their wallets for their content, maybe that will bother them when Netflix is
and to the
$30.
point, it's not just HBO, right? It's Warner Brothers, and it affects an entire industry. Right. Yeah, I mean,
it should not be. That's one example. I got an alert just before joining this that the Supreme Court has agreed to hear Donald Trump's birthright citizenship case.
I mean, that's crazy.
Like we are watching, and this is sort of what I think people resonate with. I can articulate without seeming shrill or out of my mind, but just in a normal way, the anger, but also where I think that anger should be directed and how the 70 million MAGA voters, good luck. You've rode with Trump for 10 years. Good luck with that. The 70 million people who don't vote, is there a lane to pick up 10 million of those people and completely shift the balance in this country? Because on policies, on decency, the Democrats own this. But for whatever reason, the Republicans have managed to turn, it used to be big culture wars. Now it's just Democrats are they're too politically correct. They're too woke, even though that seems stale by now. And we need people. And I said to a crowd last night, I said, it may not be me, but people like me are needed, not just because we're fresh blood, but we come from the real world. And I just think that's the battle is for the people who have removed themselves from the process. I think the Democrats have to become a cohesive unit. I get that Bernie Sanders and Chuck Schumer occupy different lanes, but Democrats have to sort of within their own caucus say, what is the middle ground of us between the slow progress and the big progress? Can we get a middle progress and everybody sign on? And that's it. That consensus, because when people argue for the Joe Manchins of the world who have this sort of erotic attachment to bipartisanship, no matter what, I said it last night, 2 + 2 is 4. If you tell me 2 + 2 is 10, the middle ground is not 2 + 2 is 7. And that's what it feels like we're doing. And I think Democrats just need to have the fight, have the argument, but then that's it. Because what's on the other side, I think there are too many people who see these opportunities to be like, oh, things are crazy right now. Maybe I can get my piece of the pie, or I can get in and make my case or raise money for me. The numbers should be on our side. The policy, the decency is on our side. We're the fact that this is still kind of a 50-50 country when we're watching what's going on is appalling. And somebody needs to make the case on a lot of issues, in plain language, in relatable language. And I know that there will be people better on policy and more experienced in government than me. In fact, I have no government experience. But there needs to be a lane for people who can broaden the Democratic Party and bring kind of passion and relatability to the table. So that's
you're so authentic. In fact, I think it's to your detriment almost, to a fault, that you're so authentic when you say things like, like what you just said, like, I have no government experience, but I think there needs to be, what lands with some people probably is, oh, he has no government experience. You know what I mean? Or
sure.
When you say it doesn't have to be me, but someone like me has to be, I wish
given a place at the table.
I know, but I just wish I could excise the, it doesn't have to be me. It should be me, because I represent the kind of people we need more in the conversation. Because
my campaign theme song is "It's Gonna Be Me" by NSYNC. No, it's not.
You're so wonderfully, and this is you in person, and this is who you are on the stump and in debates, because you are really the real person. You're self-effacing, and sadly, in politics, unless you've just got to turn down that self-effacement, because the reality is that you are a gifted thinker and communicator, and that reflected with ideas that are fresh and real and considered is the kind of person you want to have.
I mean, Mark, I do at all events post a plaque of my Mensa membership behind me on stage. So I'm not completely avoiding it, but
I just don't. I'm a super fan, of course, and I just want to see you get to the finish line. I understand it's hard, but this is the process, and I think we can speak openly about the fact that you look ahead, and like that this is part of the process. It's a part of political activism. It's a part of running for political office, and maybe it's this, maybe it's the next thing. But you are someone with real potential, and I'm so glad you're a friend of the show, and we will support you any way we can. I've sent money. Kim sent money. There are others who have contributed to your campaign, and that's the dirty part of American politics, is it takes money to raise your visibility. And
I'd love, honestly, I would love nothing more than if, my 100,000 social media followers just sent me $10 each. Sure. So nobody had to be, but of course, if you're able to spend more, please do, because I have, and then I have to go back to work. This is what's crazy, is that I'm still working, and I am frazzled. If you can tell, my hair is not quite long enough to look fully frazzled, but I'm frazzled. But in terms of money, we have a few ideas. Obviously, we have to do a mailer, but I have an ad idea that I'm writing that's going to be just sort of a 90-second, 80-second YouTube, Instagram kind of thing. But I think it will shake up this race with how I'm approaching it. And I make my case. Like I have articulated to my small but mighty campaign staff, and I told them last night, I said, some of these campaigns are calling themselves grassroots. Well, then we are a soil-based campaign compared to them. And I think I need that infusion of money now. That's why there's sort of this, it's a 2-month primary. It's a completely condensed schedule, because I think if I can make my name before Christmas, like reach more people who maybe they've heard a comedian is in the race or something like that, but if I can make my point with this ad, with a mailer, I can reframe this race. I do feel confident that I can reframe this race. Somebody said I look great in a suit. That suit picture is from when I was in 2006 in the DA's office, where I was, basically Christian Bale in American Psycho, but with a tan. Now I'm a little bit more bulky, not quite Fetterman, but not quite DAJL. I'm trying to get back there. And thankfully I can't eat during the campaign because I'm too stressed. So I am dropping weight, the way the doctors recommend, by not sleeping and never eating. I think that's
very healthy
the new
way to go.
Ozempic.
Yeah.
But the money is so important right now. It's important throughout, but this is like, because I can get buried, the campaign can kind of get buried in its infancy. So that's sort of why there's an urgency to it. So if you can give 10, thank you so much. If you can give 50, thank you so much. But if you want, this is going to be a spotlight race. This isn't as obscure. It's a New York market, and it's the only special election coming up. So it's a chance for Democrats to at least contribute, and independents and Republicans, if you just like me and think I'd be something good in Congress, even if our policies don't quite align, but you want this kind of a voice, an honest, real voice. All donations matter, and they count and they're important. So I just think, I'm sorry for the vulgar pitch, but that's
the vulgarity of the political system. Yeah, I mean, you're just forced into it. But
and what I'd say to people, last message, obviously, donate to JL.com. I have to say that, donate to JL.com. You can spell two either way, the number or the word. But we can do more with less in this campaign, but we can't do with not enough. Like, I have the ability to craft messaging and content that can outkick its dollar amount, but I have to reach a certain dollar amount. Like, you have people who are going to probably rack up $1 million in this race. I don't need that, but I do need six figures to get there. And
you need a threshold to really make it happen.
But if I get there, I know that I can actually really connect and really, maybe give people a real option amidst sort of warring factions. Do you mind if I just say one last piece?
Yeah, I want you to give me the website because I've got JL for NJ.
That's my website, and you can donate through there also.
But is the other one? The other one is donate.
Like the number 2, donate to JL.com. That takes you right to the Act Blue page.
Okay, now stick the landing, and we got to wrap up.
In this race, there is a sort of local machine candidate, a national machine candidate, and a sort of Democrats are the problem, we need to fight for the soul of the party candidate. And I look at those three and I say, these are kind of the three pillars or the three legs of the stool of the Democratic Party for the last 10 years that has made it in a part civil war within itself and part unappealing to former Democrats, independents, and political cynics. And I think I can carve a path narrowly through those three for someone with some progressive values, some legal experience, and somebody who can be a much more effective communicator for the district and the party than anybody else in the race. So that's the pitch. That's going to be the kind of way we go with this campaign.
Yeah, and I think you also are connected to what Jerseyites want. I don't know if that's the word, Jersey. I don't know what they call them. What do you call the New Jersey folk?
Bad drivers. No, I didn't say that. Yes, and if your brother lives in the district, wonderful. New Jerseyans?
Yeah, anyway, but I think you're connected to ideas that can help them with everyday life. Contribute to JL, and again, the main website is jl4nj.com, and then the donation website is donate the number 2. And then what is the rest of it?
JL.com.
Okay, that's pretty easy. Donate the number 2 and JL.com. So donate to JL.com. By the way, and here is, we adore you, but we'll put links to what I've just said and what JL's just said, JL4NJ.com, donate to JL.com. They'll be under this video and under the breakout video. Stay in touch. Let us know how it's going.
Yes,
We're with you, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
J-L Cauvin, everybody. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I mean, he's the real thing, J-L Cauvin. He has, terrific ideas. He's got passion. He's smart. He's smart as hell. Could really make a difference. So I'm hoping that he can get there. Of course, it's just the premium in American politics is on money, and it's on, the the deals you make, the unholy deals you make. Let me just have a quick sip. This is Coachella Valley Coffee. You can get more at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. I'm drinking the Holiday Blend, which I do recommend to you. And if you go to CoachellaValleyCoffee.com and you order yourself the Holiday Blend or anything else, tea, spices, etc., you can get 10% off using our discount code, MARK-T. So grab it. MARK-T at checkout, perfect stocking stuffer. And there are the wonderful hand-roasted beans. This is the best coffee I have ever tasted. Again, sip, smile, stay festive. Check out the Holiday Blend. Again, I'm drinking it right now, and I recommend it to all, and you can have it. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, MARK-T at checkout for 10% off.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I loved The Tonight Show, grew up with Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and I know many of you did as well. That's why a lot of us look at clips of the old Tonight Show, and someone who sort of took that obsession with Johnny Carson, that love of Johnny Carson to another level, joins us now. He's someone who created a website that celebrates Carson, created a podcast that talks about Carson, talks to old guests, talks to old producers, and anyone associated with the old Tonight Show. And now he's written a book, Love Johnny Carson, one obsessive fan's journey to find the genius behind the legend. How about it from Mark Malkoff?
Mark, thanks for having me. It's good to see you.
It's so cool to have you on. I was mentioning to everyone, I had you on the radio in Los Angeles, and I was feeling so good about that. I just thought this audience, my audience, would enjoy hearing some of the stuff that we'd spoken of, some of which relates to your book, some of which relates just to stuff you know about Carson. And it's funny, you've been a super fan, but you've seen interest in Carson sustain, right? I mean, it sustains on YouTube, it sustains in all of these other ways that we may not be aware of.
Even the late night hosts today still talk about Johnny Carson. Jimmy Kimmel, like a week or two ago, had rainbow curtains honoring Johnny Carson. 2 nights ago, Paul Anka was on and he asked about Johnny Carson. Carson still makes headlines. He's been off the air, and this is hard to believe, over 32 years. But he's the gold standard. All the hosts still look to him, and America still looks at him as the way to do one of these shows, and there was nobody better.
And I have to say, as a kid, he kind of taught me how to act. You know what I mean? Like meaning how to comport myself, how to behave, because you felt like you were watching a cocktail party, and it was old Hollywood, and Carson seemed to be the ringmaster. You know, it was a weird sort of cultural institution, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, he expected his guests to be on good manners. He looked at it that they were coming into his house. So, for example, Jerry Lewis yelled at one of the staff members, and Carson thought that was rude and banned him from the show. So, as long as you went in with good manners, some people were banned for saying things that Carson deemed offensive. Ellen DeGeneres did a joke they told her not to do. They thought it would be offensive, and she did it anyway, so she wasn't welcome back. But as long as you played by his rules and you were loyal to him, it was all good.
And the other thing is, he came up at a time, and I'm going to get back to the bans because you have it in your book, and it's pretty wild, some of the people that were banned and some of the reasons they were banned. But let me double back to that. What I was just going to say in terms of the institution, the media institution, and the show business institution that was The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, it was at a time, and this is something else that we kind of don't really think about, I think, because it was just, we kind of get inundated with so much streaming, and there's gaming, and now there's all the ways that the audience can occupy itself. But back when The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson was really hitting stride, there were only 3 networks, and Carson was essentially dominating the late night space. And so if you went on Carson as a comedian, as a singer, whatever, and you had a good set, a good appearance, it could launch you, couldn't it?
It was life-changing. Comedians would cry to me, telling me their stories. People like Drew Carey, Stephen Wright instantly became credible. The money went up. Gary Shandling, when he found out he was going to be guest hosting the Tonight Show because Albert Brooks had a kidney stone and was in the hospital, started bawling. It was his dream. So yeah, it was very consistent talking to these people is one of the best parts of their lives. That's why I talked to over 400 people with all these names would talk to me, and I didn't really understand why. Like Jimmy Buffett, his people said he's so excited to talk to you. I said, Mr. Buffett, why are you excited to talk to me? He said, Mark, it was the biggest break of my career, but no one has ever asked me about this. So they really like reminiscing about Johnny. It says a lot about him.
So there's names on the ban list that you talk about, like people who are banned from the Tonight Show that I never would have thought. William Shatner.
That's right.
Was banned from the Tonight Show.
Yes.
Why was William Shatner banned from the Tonight Show?
It was his third appearance with Johnny, and he violated three rules. One is he came out and wouldn't let Johnny talk for like 2 or 3 minutes. Carson wanted back and forth, and Shatner was telling this long-winded story, didn't stick to the pre-interview, boring the audience. The second thing is he turned his back to Johnny to talk to fellow guest Buddy Hackett. Johnny did not like when you turned your back to him. And the third thing is, back then, if you remember, Mark, they would say, okay, my next guest has a TV show, TJ Hooker, on another network. They weren't allowed to say what network. And of course, Shatner said, watch TJ Hooker Saturday night on ABC. So it was 3 strikes and you are out. Now, I do want to point out Shatner was he could go back with guest host, but Johnny said, I will never have this person on again. And he didn't.
Wow. Carson really could hold a grudge. That's something that was clear.
It was definitely, everything was black and white. I mean, the friends that I talked to and the people that really, really knew him, and he did have friends, and they told me consistently that he was very similar on and off to the Tonight Show, which, the media made him out to be cold in the loop. But his friends said that if he was loyal to you and he loved you, he'd do anything. And he was just a little less gregarious than on the Tonight Show, but very, very close.
Yeah, you'd hear that he was sort of quiet and reserved.
He was shy.
Shy, exactly.
He was shy, but I mean, there were a couple people that betrayed him. He had a manager that he felt betrayed him. Obviously famous with Joan Rivers, which I go into more depth than anybody's ever gone on why Johnny was actually upset. And she tried to steal Johnny's producer, Peter LaSalle, which Joan admits every talent coordinator was offered double their salary to go with Joan to Fox. And he couldn't believe that Joan wouldn't tell him about the show. She had every opportunity, and Barry Diller, head of Fox at the time, told me here in New York, she told Joan, you have an obligation. Barry Diller was friends with Carson. They were in a poker game. It was Neil Simon, Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, Carl Reiner. So, yeah, once that door was shut, it perceived loyalty, you're gone.
It's wild that just on the Joan Rivers thing, and I didn't know about the Barry Diller thing. That's pretty big. When Barry Diller, who hired her then, gave her her own late night show, said, you got to talk to Carson. And she, why do you suppose, what were you able to find out about why she never did approach Johnny?
The reason Joan didn't do it is, the main reason is she knew when she told Johnny, he'd be supportive and be fine with it, but the guest hostings would stop. She had signed a deal with Fox 2.5 months prior till Carson found out about it, and she knew the guest hosting would stop. And she was subservient to her husband, Edgar, who became the producer on The Tonight Show, and everybody just told me gave her really, really bad advice, and she was trying to be a good wife. When Joan Rivers would meet people, she would say, hi, my name is Joan Rosenberg. She wouldn't say Rivers, and her husband did her in, and after 10 months on Fox, the ratings sank. Barry Diller fired her husband, and Joan said, if you fire him, I'm leaving, and Joan thought that he was bluffing, and Diller fired her. She was gone. And,
of course, I mean, sadly, Edgar died, I think, soon after that.
Yes, he committed suicide. He had depression, and it was just... And then Joan Rivers finds out that she's millions of dollars in debt. And talk about resiliency. Somebody that bounced back, that just, such an icon.
Yeah, no, it's true. She really did reconstitute herself, independent of The Tonight Show and late night TV. So... it's interesting. I hope we have another second here because I want to talk about you because you're sort of an interesting guy apart from the book. But what are the other things about The Tonight Show that either surprised you or you feel sort of are the richest memories of that show, good or bad?
I just love talking to Irving Davis, who held the curtain open for Johnny for 20 years. And just to tell, I always wondered what was going on. And Johnny would be telling jokes. He'd be smoking a cigarette, always with a cigarette in hand. He smoked 2 packs of Pall Malls unfiltered a day. It did him in. He died of emphysema. Yeah, 79 years old. and he kept saying those damn cigarettes. But just the fact that the backstage Carson, I loved hearing, he would make a wish. He was constantly doing kind things for people and did not want the credit.
It's funny. I remember when watching The Tonight Show that he would hold the cigarette in his left hand just out of the frame.
That's right.
You could see it as a kid. I remember watching and seeing the smoke coming in and that Carson was smoking, and he would even be coming back from the break, sometimes having a puff. But there was a sense of smoking and drinking, and, stars would come on. They were clearly drinking. They would joke a lot about alcohol, joked with Ed about alcohol. So it was a different time. It felt like a real cocktail party.
It really did. I mean, when they were in New York in the 60s, it was alcohol, it was cigarettes. When they'd go out to Los Angeles, it would be a party. Dean Martin would show up unannounced. It would be Bob Hope. And it would be this amazing party, and you wanted to be a part of it. And the alcohol definitely, some people like Marlon Brando in 1964 was chugging champagne for 90 minutes and went out and was wasted. And they talked about it years later, but it definitely, the alcohol, like Peter O'Toole was another one that was incoherent with the drinking over at the show. But as long as Johnny had one glass of vodka that he would sip over 90 minutes. When the show started, it was an hour 45, so he was never intoxicated, but it was more just being social back then.
Yeah, it's funny too, the sense you had then, and you really noticed this by looking at the old clips, was that there was a spontaneity. There might have been pre-interviews, et cetera, but Carson seemed to kind of just take the conversation the way he wanted to.
Yes.
There was not the curated, choreographed kind of conversations that you find now in late night.
He was a curious person. He never wanted to have dinner with the A-list actors. It was always Carl Sagan, the astronomer, Jim Fowler, people that he was really interested in. And there were always, the pre-interviews were always thrown out when it was Buddy Hackett, Don Rickles, Steve Lawrence, certain people that it was just effortless. They would do it just to have a safety net, but they would never get to it. But Carson, sometimes if he was loving a guest, would bump people. The potato chip lady who was not famous, Jennifer Tilly, the famous actress, ended up getting bumped for this unknown woman who collected potato chips. She was she was an inspector in Indiana, and she noticed that the chips were in certain shapes and sizes and went on the show. And then Johnny, in his brilliance, had Ed McMahon distract her, and then he bit down on a chip, and she thought he was eating her act. She almost had a heart attack, and she, 65-year-old woman, and Johnny said, "No, Myrtle, I have my own bowl." And it's one of the most classic things. But yeah, he would make those people famous. Myrtle Young traveled the world because of Carson.
That's really very funny. Yeah, I mean, he could, again, just blow up an entire profile of someone and create a sensation overnight. Rodney Dangerfield was a favorite guest. I'm seeing this in the chat. A lot of people in the chat are anxious to buy your book. Again,
that's
it's
so
called
nice. Please.
Love Johnny Carson, Mark Malkoff's book. There's way more. And they're just great stories out of the world of Johnny Carson. The Ed McMahon-Carson relationship, that's sustained, right? I mean, they came from New York to L.A. Just give me a second on that.
They were really close. They were on a game show called Who Do You Trust together. Johnny was the host, Ed was the announcer. And Johnny, when he went to the Tonight Show, wanted to start fresh and wasn't going to bring Ed. And Johnny's friend didn't want to come from the West Coast. So Ed, at Danny's Hideaway, got on his hands and knees, tears down his face, begging Johnny to take him. And Johnny was embarrassed, said, "Ed, I'll take you." And they were really close. Like, Ed McMahon would save Johnny from the drinking, because Johnny would, on the Tonight Show, would say, I struggle with my drinking. I have one more drink too much, and I turn into Attila the Hun. And Ed would just help him get home. And then, in California, they weren't as close, but they would go out for birthdays and the anniversary of them working together. And then Johnny had his son tragically died in 1991, and Ed's son, I think, died in 95. And that really did bring them closer together. But they stayed in touch in retirement, and they needed each other. I mean, they worked off so well. And that clip where Ed is intoxicated, the one time he was drunk on the show, slurring his words and everything, that was what Carson and Ed were like in the 60s with the drinking. But Ed had just found out that 2 court cases went his way. He was with Paul Williams and Pat McCormick and just downing drinks. And by the time he got to the Tonight Show, it was obvious to America that Ed was a little bit tipsy.
Gosh, imagine going on a network show with that kind of reach and being... schnookered. I mean, it would really. It's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't imagine. I do want to mention Johnny was more political than people think. Nancy Reagan, on several occasions, called in, was upset with jokes. One was no more drug jokes because I'm doing Just Say No, and she called in a second time to say Ronnie does not dye his hair. Johnny, stop doing jokes that Ronnie dyes his hair. So the next day, Johnny Carson says, "Okay, somebody called me. I'm not going to say who, but I'm told Ronald Reagan does not dye his hair, but he does bleach his face." So that's what Johnny said. But you had people like Jimmy Carter's mom called Johnny a bad. I can't really say it on your show, but later was a guest on the show and said, "I changed my mind. Johnny's wonderful." The Gerald Ford administration, Gerald Ford said we had a love-hate relationship because Chevy Chase and Johnny turned the perception they were stumblers to America. So he definitely would upset politicians here and there, but overall, they did love him, and you couldn't tell his politics, which, he just didn't believe in. He would lose half his audience if he showed his politics. He really, really played his audience well.
Yeah. I think Reagan, was on the Tonight Show when he was governor.
Yeah,
I think
that's right.
California. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm out of time. I wanted to mention, first of all, of course, there'll be a link to Mark's book under this video, so you can just click it. And many of you have said you're going to buy it for Christmas. You're going to buy it for friends, for family. So lots of love for Love Johnny Carson and Mark Malkoff. And I'll just mention Mark is a kind of character. He got worldwide attention for a series that he did on the web called Mark Lives in IKEA. You lived and slept in an IKEA store in Paramus, New Jersey, for an entire week.
They let me do it. Yes, I did. That was worldwide press. I did a series of comedy stunts. And it was a lot of fun doing that. That was a while back. And nicer than my New York City apartment.
You've done a lot of stuff. So you're an interesting guy. We'd love to have you back. But congratulations on this book.
Thank you, sir.
For those of us of a certain vintage, it really does speak to us, and we can't wait to get into it. Love Johnny Carson. Mark, thank you. Mark Malkoff.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
You too, my
Happy
friend.
Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Take care.
Great to see
Thank you.
Right on. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, a lot of people really, I knew it would land for many of you, and I'm glad you kind of enjoyed that. And so many people saying that they're going to pick up the book and that this is a great kind of walk through time. And that checkerboard jacket Johnny had was a piece of work. That is true. He was, he had his own clothing line. That's how big it was. Carson, I think it was called the Johnny Carson collection. It was from, Hager or one of those big things, back in the 70s. There were, but, he was the real thing. So there's that. Look, I know what you want, and I'm going to just mention it, that Donald Trump has fired the architect for the big, beautiful ballroom. That's
what?
I know.
Shake up at the ballroom. What?
Yeah. Shake up at the ballroom. Thank you. That's exactly what it is. The architect overseeing that $300 million gilded ballroom project, and believe me, it'll be way more than $300 million. When look, it started at $200 million, then it went up to $250. Now it's at $300. I promise you, because a lot of the money's not going into the ballroom. That's just in. I don't know if you need me to guide you through that, the grift and corruption, but here I am to do it just in case. What's that?
When it started, he said it was going to seat 600 people. And now apparently it's ballooned to, we're going to seat 1,000 people in this big, beautiful ballroom. So
they're going to play football games there. They're going to be UFC fights there. It's going to be incredible.
Who is having that conversation?
According to the Washington Post, which first reported the news yesterday and cited 3 people familiar with the matter, architect James McCurry II and his boutique firm had been leading the project for more than 3 months, but they are out.
Sayonara, sucker.
Yeah, it's done.
Good day, sir.
Right. Trump has now selected a different architect, and there'll be some changes as they begin to transition to what they're calling the next stage of development.
I hope the first architect doesn't expect to be paid. Yeah. He doesn't pay people. If you fail, you're out. No pay.
There's some truth to that. Kim is not wrong. Also, in keeping with the season, it wasn't just firing architects. There was the tree lighting. And what tree lighting the national Christmas tree lighting would be complete without a rant about how the election was stolen and how those dirty Democrats need to be washed away from the American landscape. Albert, do you have the tree lighting video? Here it is.
Happy holidays. Yeah.
And remember, we have not only the 250 years, but this is a big one. We have the World Cup and we have the Olympics coming up, all within this 4-year period. See, if they didn't rig the election, I would have been sitting, because can you imagine? I wouldn't have any of them. And I probably wouldn't have been invited. I would have been very upset by that. And remember, we have
all right, very well done.
Someone did this to spoil our Christmas.
There you go. Happy holidays to all of you.
Oh, man. You can't just flip the light on the tree and say Happy Holidays, America.
No.
You have to get back into the big lie, huh?
Hey, you got a message, Kim. Got a message every chance you can. And by the way, speaking of sneaking stuff in announcing and mentioning events at the Kennedy Center, Trump inserted his name into the Kennedy Center title. Take a look at this.
Tickets than any country anywhere in the world at this stage of the game, and I think we probably broke all records before you even get close. And you have a big event on Friday at the Trump Kennedy Center. Oh, excuse me, at the Kennedy Center. Pardon me, I've such a terrible mistake, Marco.
Yeah, there you go. So you see, that's the thing. Got a message, Kim. Got to keep it out there. The Trump Kennedy Center. You know what? He's going
to name it that. I mean, that's he said it's a mistake.
No, he'll name it that because do you know how hard it is for him to call it the Kennedy Center? To choke that out is really hard. I mean,
it's probably excruciating.
It's lucky that it's not called the Barack Obama Center. It would be, oh my God, right? But there's a tradition in Washington not to name buildings and institutions like this after living people. Mm-hmm. That's why, usually after a politician dies, then they can be considered for all of these different things. But Trump is changing all that. Trump, it's Trump land, and we are the United States of Trump. So get on the program. And that's what's happening. So
the Mark Thompson Show.
I am ready to bring on our two boys, and then I do Florida after that. Isn't that how we do it, Albert?
Yeah.
I suffered a blow to the head not so long ago, and I can't keep track of stuff. But if I've got another second or two, here they come. All right. I was going to just mention, and I'm going to take a second just to mention it because this is big, and you may think of this as kind of a Hollywood thing, but it's not. It's more than Hollywood. This is a huge move that involves a Hollywood business, Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers Discovery is going to sell its movie, television, and streaming assets to Netflix. This is a deal valued at $82.7 billion, and this is probably the most, and I think I can say absolutely, not even probably, the most consequential merger in modern Hollywood history.
Does this include CNN?
But this is a point, and the answer is yes, but I'll double back to that. If approved by federal regulators, which it likely will be because federal regulators are not regulating much anymore, this will create a new entertainment and media business uniting the largest streaming destination, which is Netflix, alongside a 102-year-old film studio, which is Warner Brothers. They have HBO, HBO Max. They have Harry Potter movie franchise. They have the Warner Brothers library is immense. And Netflix has Stranger Things and Squid Game and so on. And so the CEO of Netflix is saying, from timeless classics like Casablanca and Citizen Kane to modern favorites like Harry Potter and Friends, with our culture-defining titles like Stranger Things, K-pop, Demon Hunters, and Squid Game, we'll be able to do the business of entertaining the world even better. Now, here's how it quickly affects life that you might care about. The world of Hollywood is already hobbled by the fact that a lot of production has left Hollywood. They seek tax incentives in other states, Georgia, Texas, Louisiana. They go to Vancouver, British Columbia, across Canada. They're shooting in a bunch of what would be sort of Eastern European countries now. Game shows now are regularly shot not in America. They take the contestants, they fly them to Ireland. It's cheaper there with the tax breaks to shoot the stuff there. So Hollywood is being crippled by this, and associated businesses, everything from, cleaners to restaurants, et cetera, already being hobbled by that. So that's the way it affects Hollywood and affects an industry of the movies. But the other way it affects the industry of the movies is a clear one. And you can see it here on YouTube, how we have Netflix on the left and Warner Brothers on the right. You'll combine them. Netflix is not a movie company concerned with theaters. They are now a movie company concerned with streaming. They're concerned with getting more people on their platform and doing things with those people, which includes even advertisements on certain offerings they have. And beyond that, raising the prices of those monthly streaming charges. So this affects movie theaters. Movie theater owners, they call them exhibitors in the business, are shaking in their boots over this, because now you have major releases coming out of Warner Brothers that Netflix is saying we'll run in the theaters for 2 weeks and then we will stream them. Well, that will undercut the theater exhibitor business massively. So you're going to see a huge change in that world as well. The economy of having movie theaters, which was already seriously damaged by streaming and also by COVID, is now going to be damaged further. Now, let's get to CNN. The benefit of this is that Netflix, unlike the other suitors circling Warner Brothers, is not associated with Trump right-wing ideologies that would have likely been part of any CNN media play moving forward. In other words, Netflix may leave CNN closer to what they are now than, for example, Ellison, the Ellison Group, Larry Ellison and his son. They were making a serious play for this. They would have changed CNN and made it more like Fox News Channel. That likely won't happen now. So if you are concerned about that, if you're concerned about the public discourse, which you should be concerned about, I'd say, I think this is a net positive for that. But for those other areas of concern that I mentioned, I think it's an area of serious concern, certainly a net negative for theater owners and for that world that is undercut by the world of streaming already. And the other thing I quickly want to mention, then I've got Mo Kelly standing by, and I want to get his take on a bunch of things, is the Saudi involvement. Saudi Arabia is reemerging as a key financial backer in Hollywood.
What?
Yeah, because Hollywood needs money, and the Saudis are clearly comfortable throwing money around.
Well, they pay cash.
They do.
Saudi Arabia pays cash.
The stars are taking Saudi money. They are taking money for attending that Red Sea Film Festival. Studios want the Saudi money. The executives are traveling to the Saudi kingdom to meet about potential deals there. And at the highest levels, Saudi money could end up helping to finance all kinds of mergers. Saudi financing has become more appealing to Hollywood because other sources of money have dried up. After COVID, the whole world changed in Hollywood. That's kind of what I was saying to you before. And you had actors striking, writers striking. Saudi Arabia's human rights record, which is checkered to be polite, is an uneasy kind of pairing for a Hollywood that seems to do a lot of purity tests on where their money's coming from. But at some point, once there's enough money, they look the other way on the purity test. So,
does it seem like it's becoming insidious that Saudis are sticking their fingers and their money into everything?
Yeah, I mean, the commish can tell you about the golfing world and about the world of sports. I mean, it's a remarkable thing that the Saudis in Formula One, They have this Red Sea Film Festival that I mentioned.
Even esports has been taken over completely by the Saudis. Like all these people playing video games as a sport online. I don't really watch that too often, but I just checked in a couple times. Like, wow, there's definitely a couple Saudi teams in here that are sponsored.
And so you have it in Hollywood as well. Yeah. So I also will just mention it as a coda to everything. The Saudis don't have limitless money. So, they need to make money along the way, but they are repositioning themselves. And of course, the Saudi leadership wants to get beyond just being an oil economy, and they want to be a tech economy. And that's why they're in bed with a lot of the big techsters who are also, when I say texter, T-E-C-H, right? Not the people texting, but the people who are tech gillionaires who populate that world around Trump as well. So there's a lot coming together for the Saudis that way as well.
Saudi Arabia pays cash.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia pays cash. So we move on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This is Mark Thompson.
Every Friday, we like to look back at the week in politics, a little bit of what's happening with two super smart guys. This guy's forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever know. Michael Shure joins us. And the remarkable brain that is in this guy is on display whenever he comes on our show, the wonderful Mo Kelly. Good to have you guys here with us. What a week. I'm going to start not with the Venezuelan strikes, not with Pete Hegseth, although I promise we're going to spend a good chunk on that. I want to start with flagging poll numbers for Trump. And the reason I'm going to start there is, in my judgment, sadly, maybe, I think the Venezuela thing, while scandalous and abhorrent in many ways, it doesn't land with a lot of Americans the way I think these issues of inflation and of the way in which lifestyles are affected by the inflationary spiral that's clearly in place and as a result of tariffs and the rest. Albert, do you have this? I'm kind of vamping right now to allow you enough time to get this going. This is the latest poll numbers. Gallup shows Trump in real trouble on this. If you don't have it, Albert, I'll just ask the guys to comment, and I'll try. Here it is. Here's a little summary from, I don't know this guy, the guy from CNN, but man, he is a character. I don't know. Roll the clip, and we'll talk about it.
I mean, it's a disaster if it holds towards the midterm elections. And I should note, of course, it's not alone. I mean, just take a look here. This is Gallup. This is the longest running poll. Gallup has been conducting polls since my father was a kid, and my father was born in 1927, had me in the 60s. Look at this in January. Donald Trump's not approving. Not too bad, not too great. It was at -1 point, right within the margin of error, breaking even. But look at this now. Negative 24 points, way down. We're talking about a drop of over 20 points in the wrong direction for the President of the United States. -24 points, that's a 23-point move in the incorrect direction if you're the president. And of course, what's so important here, Sarah Seidner, is it matches the trend that we've seen with other polls. That is Donald Trump hitting his low for the second term. I was doing the count last night. I think we're up to 10 polls in sort of the last 40 days, 10 different pollsters who have said that Trump is at the lowest point he is in his second term.
Okay, let's just, with that, ask how this affects us moving forward, Mo Kelly, politically.
I don't know if it affects us politically, but I do know in terms of the legislative agenda of President Trump, it means that he'll probably turn up the things which have done him well in previous years. And anytime that he has suffered politically in a polling sense, he's usually amped up his rhetoric and also his behavior as far as cruelty. We will see more of these military strikes. We will see more occupations of American cities in the attempt of rounding up illegals, quote unquote. We will see more of those things because those are the things that have already always traditionally polled well for him and done well for him in a political sense. I don't make much of these polling numbers in December of 2025. If this were September of 2026, then I think the president would be more concerned. But right now, I think it's a discussion point like we have right now, but I don't know if it's going to impact him politically or legislatively other than encouraging him to be more abusive and abrasive.
Michael Shure, when Mo Kelly says, I don't make much of these poll numbers in December of 2025, it sounds like I'm talking to you. That's the kind of thing you would say.
Yeah, and I don't disagree. Where I'm not disagree, but what I would add is that there are different factors for a president at play when they can't run again. And so there is a lame duckness that Trump doesn't want to see start early. But if these numbers stay where they are going into the early months of 2026, more Republicans are going to find that it is prudent to not stick with the administration, those who are up for election, especially I would say House members, or at least if not sticking, kind of finding a way to soft pedal it. And that's going to mean that these numbers may not change as quickly, because you're going to start seeing Republicans who are running for re-election in 2026 distance themselves from the president. When that starts happening, you see this ship start sort of taking on water. That creates problems. And that's why, these numbers, while I agree completely and love when people say these numbers don't matter, if they stay static and you don't see a lot of room for growth, it's going to be a problem. The other thing is Epstein isn't going away. And a lot of Republicans and a lot of independents, but a lot of Republicans don't like the Epstein stuff. And the longer it stays with Trump, the more it's in the zeitgeist, the more problems it's going to be for the president.
Albert, play a bit of the CNN coverage on the Venezuelan, because this is summary coverage. That's the reason I mention it. It's kind of where we are now on the Venezuelan strike, on the double tap strike, et cetera. Go ahead.
The U.S. military says it has launched a new strike on an alleged drug boat, this time in the Pacific, killing 4 people. It comes as we're getting new details about the earlier controversial double trap strike in the Caribbean that some lawmakers have called a potential war crime. And our reporting contradicts the version of the story defense officials have been telling for months. CNN has learned that Admiral Frank Mitch Bradley, who oversaw that follow-up strike in September, told lawmakers during classified briefings yesterday that the survivors did not radio for backup, as some defense officials have maintained before they were killed in that second strike. Sources say Bradley and other military officials debated what to do for 41 minutes. And in the end, we're told Bradley said he ordered the second strike because part of the boat was still afloat with cocaine, and the survivors could have, in theory, made it to safety to continue their operations. Lawmakers who saw the unreleased video of that strike emerged from those briefings, split along party lines. In just a moment, we'll be speaking to one of the top Republicans who was in the room, but our top Democrat saying the video is unambiguous and shows the boat was completely disabled. Listen.
It's very, very clear in this video, which, by the way, should be made public. You had 2 shipwrecked people on the top of the tiny little bit of the boat that was left, that was capsized. The bow. They weren't signaling to anybody. And the idea that these 2 were going to be able to return to the fight, even if you accept all of the questionable legal premises around this mission, around these strikes, it's still very hard to imagine how these 2 were returning to any sort of fight in that condition.
So, as I was saying before we ran this, on some level, I feel, we started with the polling, and I feel as though Americans kind of feel as though this doesn't show up on the radar for many. Am I wrong in that take? And then, of course, I want to hear what you think about what's happening at the Pentagon, but I'm just curious how you feel it lands with most Americans. Michael.
It's not it's not the kind of thing that is the first, I guess the first answer when you ask people what's important to them. This sort of thing isn't, but these things can have a cumulative effect. And what will matter too is that, Trump, while he loves loyalty, he doesn't dole it out himself. And if enough GOP senators are starting to run away from Hegseth, which it seems at least like it's starting, and I imagine Sunday's morning shows are going to see a little bit more of that, then Trump is going to say, if this is hurting me, I don't care about Pete Hegseth. And you saw it in his first administration. You saw it with Tom Price. You saw it with Rex Tillerson. You saw it even with Jeff Sessions, Ryan Zinke. Nikki Haley. I'm just thinking of people in his first cabinet who were, somewhat popular when he started. And he, as soon as there was any kind of stink, he made sure they resigned or that he got rid of them. So, does it affect? Not immediately, and maybe with some, certainly it's going to be something that means it's a deal breaker for them. But I think it's about the cumulative effect that this can have on the Trump presidency. And again, it's like a disease spreading, right? And when you have Epstein on the one hand, when you have high gas prices and high grocery prices on the other, when you have no health care plan alternative, and then you have this mess that's going on in a war that people don't think should even be happening, and then you're pardoning a Nicaraguan former president who was a drug lord himself, and while you're saying that you're stopping the drugs in Venezuela, that all has a cumulative effect. So I don't think as a line item it's a deal breaker, but I think as part of the whole package, it adds to the devastation.
Yeah, more on that pardon in a second. But will the stink around Hegseth, Mo, kind of reach a threshold that Trump can no longer tolerate? How do you summarize kind of what we've seen this week?
It could, but I would offer caution as to whether it will. Now, if we compare the second Trump administration to the first Trump administration, I could make the argument that Donald Trump has been, I would say, more reserved and reticent to change cabinet members as compared to the first Trump administration. So to Michael's point, if there's no political type pitfall here or obstacle that Pete Hegseth would present, then there's no reason for Trump to remove Hegseth. And let's not forget, there's some sort of larger strategy at play with Venezuela. It's very specific. It's not the war on drugs in general. It's specifically Venezuela. And for the president to back away from Pete Hegseth, it would move him away from the strategy of pursuing Venezuela. I don't know if that's about oil or something else, but the president is fixated on Venezuela and wants to continue to exacerbate the issue in Venezuela. Now, what I do think will impact Americans, because the question is whether this is landing with Americans, if we get into a full-blown conflict with Venezuela on some level beyond these boat strikes, then you will see a real pushback against the administration. But up until now, it's just more a discussion point on cable news for most Americans.
To the pardon of the former Honduran president, this is a guy who was a true kingpin. I mean, think Scarface. He trafficked in 450 tons of cocaine into America. He was sentenced to 45 years after an American court and jury found him guilty. And there was some heinous stuff. I'm talking about violence and a kind of horror that he wrought. And Trump pardons him, and I'll just mention this, just 3 days after this, the case comes in with a 22-year prison sentence for a defendant in a Manhattan court. And this is another former politician from Central America. And again, this is this guy, Midens Kieli Martinez Turcios. He's a former congressman. Last year pleaded guilty to conspiring to send cocaine to the United States. And at this hearing, his lawyer invoked the pardon that was given to the former president, Juan Orlando Hernandez, as she argued for leniency. But he got 22 years. So there are a bunch of cross currents here. But at minimum, even if you leave the 22-year sentence, which just happened, out of this equation, it is a bizarre, contradictory move on the part of Trump, who claims he is fighting this war on drugs that are coming into this country. You know, Mo?
Yeah, and that goes to obviously the hypocrisy that most people do not care about. And it also speaks to the disconnect with the messaging that this is about stopping the flow of drugs into this country, which doesn't really hold any water, no pun intended, because these speedboats are not actually going to America. And we as America are not trying to actually stage any type of interdiction with the shipping barges or where these speedboats are actually going. We're not, look, if the administration can show us them bombing these speedboats, then they should be able to and should be inclined to show us the probable cause and supposed evidence leading up to that. But they're not doing it, because I do believe, going back to the polling numbers, if anything, this polls well with rank and file Republicans. Now, it may be politically uncomfortable for more and more senators because of the double tap issue, but I believe it plays well with rank and file Republicans because it adds to the supposed tough guy persona of keeping drugs out of America, keeping brown people out of America, even though it may be a war crime and against all sorts of international engagement rules.
Yeah, Michael, how do you square it? I mean, it seems like it's unsquareable, this contradiction.
You mean with the pardon? It is unsquareable. Not to mention, I was doing an immigration thing in Honduras some years ago, and a story. And one of the people said to me, "Why are you worried about some Honduras crossing your border when Hernandez is sending cocaine across your border? Shouldn't you worry about that? Or is it?" And the person said to me, "Or is it okay that the cocaine is white and the people aren't?" Which
Wow.
I thought was funny.
Yeah.
And so that's the hypocrisy here, right? I mean, not quite that. I mean, that was more tongue in cheek, but the fact that the fact that someone else went to jail. How did this happen? How are we, on the one hand, selling this as drug boats, even if those boats aren't headed here, selling this as going to Venezuela because of what they are doing, both with immigration and with drugs, even if there's another, and we all know that there's different motivation from petroleum to communism that they could force America to act there, or certainly this administration. How do you square this hypocrisy? You don't. And then where did this come from? There was a letter that was sent to the administration, and then he pardoned this guy, right? It seemed to happen quite quickly and without a lot of detail. So did it come from Netanyahu, who was pleased that Honduras was one of the countries that moved their embassy to Jerusalem, that voted to move the embassy to Jerusalem and supported it? Did it come from somebody like Bukele, who is the head of government, the president in El Salvador, who wants to kind of change all of Central America to being a kind of Trumpist economy and a Trumpist rule? We don't know. So there's so much that's a mystery. It's a fascinating story.
It is a fascinating story. And, you know, I read parts of the letter, the pardon plea earlier in the week, and it starts with "Your Excellency." It's addressed to Your Excellency, okay?
Yeah.
And then and then it says, you know, "Dear Your Excellency" type thing. And then he starts saying, you know, "I'm an aggrieved party, the victim of the Biden Harris administration, the same way you are an aggrieved party, a victim of the Biden."
All you have to put on in a letter to Donald Trump, if you want a cup of coffee or a pardon, is, "I didn't get it because Biden Harris won."
Right, precisely. I mean, it clearly was a comment. So at the end of it, it was effective. And of course, Roger Stone, I think, is quietly taking credit as well. So that kind of speaks to what you're talking about, like who had the inside track and Trump's ear on this issue. But I mean, this guy is a notorious drug trafficker. I mean, incredibly, you know, sort of he's like the Amazon.com of cocaine. And they got him. And now you pardon him? It's insane. Now, there's one other little coda to this, and that in Honduras, there's this place called Prospera, maybe it is. Michael, you might have the pronunciation. This is this city that is kind of off the grid and built around technology. And the idea is that technological kingpins could move into a place like Prospera and make it sort of their world, governed by their laws. And in a sense, it's a paradise, if you will.
It's an island. It's an island, Prospera. So
is it? Okay. And tell me, Michael, maybe you know more about it than I do, because I just kind of read a brief summary of the fact that there were interests associated with Prospera that connected to American tech titans that might have connective tissue to Trump.
Yeah, well, it was founded by an American corporation, from what I understand. It's a town on Roatan, which is like the resort island off of Honduras. And they were creating it as a for-profit city that would have industry and technology, and also most likely be a tax haven, because it was, you know, an American corporation that founded it. And so, of course, there's a lot of American money and a lot of money behind it. And it's still sort of a pipe dream. Nobody really knows what's going to happen with it. And Hernandez's relationship to it, I don't know. But it's the whole idea of creating a utopia in the middle of Central America. I think it's must be on the Caribbean side, on the Caribbean Sea side of America.
What I'd seen was that there were efforts to regulate them. There were efforts to kind of, in some way, prevent this burgeoning area from being all business and paying nothing to Honduras. And yet Hernandez, he literally fired some Supreme Court justices over this and was sort of an advocate for Prospera. So again, I don't know, but I just thought it was an interesting footnote, and maybe it's worth running out at some. Yeah,
certainly. And when Trump knows that there are people in the administration, people are advising him, he's never heard of. He doesn't know who the former president of Honduras. He doesn't know probably who Zachary Taylor was. So the point is that Trump is always motivated by seeing rich people make more money. And I don't even say that cynically. I'm saying that is clearly a motivation of his all the time. And knowing that Hernandez was a proponent of this idea that rich Americans could go someplace and make money in a place called Prospera is certainly something that I could have seen someone in his administration saying, hey, there's this island, this town on an island.
I want to ask you about two other things. And the first is Mark Kelly and the rise of Mark Kelly's profile as a result of Trump calling him out and Hegseth calling him out. Albert, you have this is sort of a Kelly reaction to a Hegseth video. Prior to Hegseth being, the head of the Department of Defense, he was just a guy, doing his military flex, and he made statements that are very much contradicting the statements that he would make now, and he finds himself as sort of, again, a victim of his own hypocrisy. But it's the Kelly reaction that I then want to sort of springboard off of to get your sense of Kelly's profile and how it's risen. But here is Hegseth, and again, this is some time ago, talking about how troops should not follow unlawful orders.
I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes. If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. There's a standard, there's an ethos, there's a belief that we are above what so many things that our enemies or others would do.
And so
Senator,
Kelly
what do you think of that?
Comment.
Well, Aaron, I think he's correct, and it's exactly what we said. But when we said it, Pete Hegseth now, said 8 years later, or 9 years later, he says what we said was false and reckless. And I think it begs the question, what has changed? And it's pretty obvious what has changed is we have an unqualified Secretary of Defense who only cares about sucking up to this president and loyalty to this president. That's the difference. It's who's commander-in-chief. What we said was uncontroversial. The White House sort of confirmed that. They said his uncontroversial remarks, they were the same as ours. I mean, this is so ridiculous. And what the president wants to do now is intimidate us and stop us from talking, which is not consistent with our Constitution. And beyond that, Aaron, he said we should be hanged for what we said, executed for what we said. And what we said was exactly the same thing that Pete Hegseth said in 2016.
Okay, so you get it. Now give me the elevated profile of Mark Kelly and how you do the arithmetic on that going forward, Mo Kelly.
I think what people have missed in this story is not what Mark Kelly has said, it's who he is and what he represents. He's an Arizona senator who's up for re-election. We're talking about a purple state, and we know that the Senate is going to be very close as far as who's going to control it in 2026. He is potentially a presidential candidate. He is an American hero. In other words, he is dangerous and a problem for the Republican Party. And if anything, they're trying to get out in front of what may be a presidential campaign, what at the very minimum is going to be a senatorial election, re-election campaign. Mark Kelly checks all the boxes of a potential presidential candidate, American hero, and is dangerous when it comes to 2028. And that's part of the reason why the Republican Party has coalesced as far as trying to fight Mark Kelly. Remember, there are 6 different Democrats on that video, 6. Now, I don't think most people can name them, but they can name Mark Kelly because the GOP and the Trump administration have gone after specifically and only Mark Kelly.
I mean, he's being talked about now in the conversation around a presidential run, Michael.
Yeah, he is. And just a slight correction. He's not up till 28 as a senator in Arizona.
I'm sorry, 28, yes.
But his profile, you know, is correct. He's also a prolific fundraiser based on his resume. He's not a great retail politician. I mean, if anybody, you know, some people run for president on biography, and some people run on charisma and retail politics, and he would have to run on biography if he were to run at all. He has some appeal as a vice presidential candidate because he looks like a vice presidential candidate, but it would really depend. You know, I'm always cynical too, not just about polls, but about vice presidential candidates. It can be seen that he could carry the state of Arizona, which has been a swing state now for quite a while, were he on a ticket, depending on who the candidate would be at the top of the ticket, he becomes interesting. He probably thinks that his profile is high enough. His wife's profile is high enough. Gabrielle Giffords, a former congresswoman who was, you know, as we all know now, brutally injured in a shooting there. If that all comes together, he's certainly somebody who could viably run in the primaries. He doesn't have the magic to leap out of the pack, in my estimation, in the kind of election that the Democrats are going to want in 2028. Doesn't mean that he won't change, he won't work on it, or that he won't be the vice presidential candidate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really fair assessment. I agree. He's not a charismatic figure. And that's one of the reasons that I think Trump going after him and Hegseth going after him kind of supercharged him, because all of a sudden, you know, they'll supply the charisma fuel, and he just has to show up on all of these different shows that now want him to be a guest. And I think he probably would have had trouble getting on a lot of those shows prior to that.
Exactly. Yeah. And historically, you know, former military people are not the most charismatic candidates. Dwight Eisenhower wasn't even a charismatic candidate. If you look at the sort of the former, you know, John Kerry tried to turn that around, but his heroism was in bucking the system there. So it becomes a very difficult personality test for people who were in the military, who were astronauts, who were staid and not in a politically sort of exuberant function for most of their lives. So it's John Glenn, even when he ran for president, he was quite dull when he ran, and that's kind of did him in a lot of ways.
Quickly on the way out, I want to touch on ICE, which is, you know, again, in my view, it's glorified thugs that show up and just scoop up people off the street. There's no concern about if they have a criminal background, if they're part of narco-terrorism or whatever branding there is associated with them. Again, these are my feelings, but dozens of people detained across New Orleans yesterday. This is all part of a sweeping federal immigration crackdown. And again, this is in a Democratic-led city, and this is part of the game. ICE also made itself felt in various activities around parades that are associated with the holidays in California. A winter parade in Santa Barbara is not going to happen this year because of concerns around potential ICE activity during the festivities. They think of nothing in a kind of pogrom-style way. They go in and would break up a parade. They'd break up any sort of activity or celebration if they felt in any way that they could make some arrests, and high-profile, brutal arrests are sort of the cornerstone of what they do. The L.A. area, I believe they've launched the public defender's office there, a first-in-the-nation pilot program to help defendants in immigration court where public defenders are not allowed to represent clients. The public defender's office is assembling a team of contract attorneys to take on those cases. So that's where we are in terms of pushback and in terms of the world of ICE going into the holidays. Michael, thoughts?
Yeah, again, this goes to what Mo was talking about earlier, is that when Trump is on his heels, he goes strongman. And that's what his administration is doing here. He believes and will believe until his dying day that immigration is a terrible thing. He's got a birthright citizenship, which the court has just agreed to hear. He wants to keep America white. He's importing white aggrieved South Africans into the country, but putting ICE on the streets as we see here. It is a complete political play. It may be a good one, but it's an ugly one. And at the same time, while they're organizing in places like Los Angeles, they're also the federal government anyway, and the Justice Department is not renewing judges who are on their sort of like their probationary period. So there's a lowering in the number of immigration judges that can hear these cases in the first place. So it's systemic or systematic, and it's targeted, and it's ugly. But that's what Trump is betting on, as Mo sort of said earlier. When he's back on his heels, this is what he does.
Mo, I'm also seeing that the grand jury transcripts are going to be released in Florida around the Epstein case. This seems like it could be a super reemergence of this Epstein conversation as we go into the holidays, which is typically a fairly quiet period.
It could be, and I think Michael, correct me if I'm wrong. I think they have maybe 2 weeks before they are forced to release the congressional, the federal case information on Jeffrey Epstein, so we could get this deluge of information right before Christmas. I wouldn't call it a Christmas gift, but we could learn more than ever before. And in response to that, and I think all this is tied together, you will see the Trump administration probably try to redirect the news cycle with more attacks on votes, more attacks on immigrants, more of the things which lend to the credence of it's more about branding than it is about governance. And you have the president who wants to make sure that his supporters going into the holidays can at least feel that what he was elected for, the president is delivering. Whether that's true or not is neither here nor there, because this is all emotional, because most Trump supporters, I would argue, are more about the business of making sure that they feel better than the people that they dislike. And if it means that immigrants are being abused, if it means that brown people are being blown up in the Caribbean, then they're okay with that. And even if so, even that includes not being able to pay for their Christmas gifts, so they cost more than the year before, they're okay with that.
Yeah,
Sadly, I think there's some truth to that. Go ahead, Michael.
And distraction. That's true.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to correct. And I'm an election and Senate cycle nerd, which is why I'm terrible at dinner parties. So that's the only reason I corrected the Mark Kelly being up in 28. I'm not a corrector.
He's not a corrector. But I did want to ask you if you really, I'll ask both of you, think that we're going to make a move into Venezuela in any way. I mean, Trump is saber rattling in the extreme. I'll start with you, Michael.
You move the show there? I think that would be a good idea. No, I don't think. I think the flirtation is enough for now, and I don't think that I don't think he wants to upset Republicans. He cares more about his majority and his power next term. So to do anything that would really put the Republicans who need to hold on to the Senate, where Democrats are up against it there, but have a really good slew of candidates right now. And in some of those races, you may not even need a good candidate if Trump is really in trouble, and the House. So I think it's all based on holding on to power for the next Congress. And I don't think that he would be advised, doesn't mean he's going to listen to it, that going into Venezuela, like, this is enough, showing that he's pushing back on drugs, pushing back on brown people, and sending ICE into the streets for the people he needs to appease. For that, I think that he probably thinks this is enough.
This is enough, Mo? Do you think it's only a flirtation?
Yeah, I don't believe that the president gains more substantively or even politically by a larger conflagration, especially on foreign soil, because that's the next step. You know, do you bomb a location or some sort of target inside of Venezuela? I don't know if he gains anything from that. In fact, I would argue that he loses something from that, according in agreement with Michael. So this is enough for now. Now, could it be that he'll probably hasten the pace or the increase the frequency of the boat bombings and strikes, I would look for that. But I don't know if he will increase his press to move into Venezuela.
One quick thing on the way out. John Watson says, can the guest comment on the Supreme Court giving Texas the green light to use the new district maps? Yeah, Michael, that wasn't nothing. That's kind of a big deal.
It's a big deal. People are prepared for it. So they were prepared for this to go either way. I would imagine Virginia is going to try and hasten to redistrict from 7 to 3 down up to maybe even or 7 to 4 up to 10 to 1 split there in Virginia for Republicans and Democrats. I think Indiana's having a tough time getting Republican maps redrawn. Florida might get into it. I think that it just means that the net gain that they're looking for is going to be more difficult for Republicans to get, because this is going to get other states involved now.
Will it become such a rugby scrum, Mo, that at the end of it, it's just going to all pencil out the same?
Yeah, it's hard to predict how actual elections are going to turn out. We don't know the mood of the country, but in terms of just the SCOTUS fight, this is what Mitch McConnell was hoping for 30 years ago. This is why you have a 6-3 imbalanced SCOTUS for decisions just like these. And I say these inclusive of what's going to happen with birthright citizenship. If you were to ask me 5 years ago, is there any way that birthright citizenship could go away? I would say, hell no. But today, with this configuration of the Supreme Court, I say it's quite possible.
And I would say that there was some language in there that made me think that that they will see California the same way they see Texas. So people who were worried that they were going to overturn what happened in California and want to challenge it could not be encouraged by what was said today in the Texas case. So while taking it away from the district court in Texas and saying, no, that this is legal, they can do it, they're also at the same time saying that California is as well.
Sure. And that's why maybe at the end it will all pencil out the same. Guys, thank you. So appreciate you both. And I look forward to talking to you again. Mo Kelly and Michael Shure, everybody. So long.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
I'm not gonna cry! I'm not gonna cry!
Someone did this to spoil our Christmas.
Seriously, what the f? Did you really just do that?
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
Can you let him finish, sir?
Feel it in your soul. The Mark Thompson Show.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
Put up your pants, my man. Pull up those pants.
Right on, everybody. It is our big weekend warm-up show. This is Friday. If you haven't yet, please do consider and then follow through with smashing the like button like a boss.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Exactly. And also subscribe if you would. Cost you nothing. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever we drop a special video with you in mind. Lucy McAllister, my favorite McAllister. A big shout out to you and a big thanks to you for a $20 super sticker. Thank you. We're a crowd-funded show. Without the crowd that funds, we go away. So it's very cool to have you on board. Breaking news from Richard Delamater, who says Trump just won the KFC Peace Prize. I love it.
Saudi Arabia pays cash.
Yeah. Mark Thompson Show, says Pamela Kirby. We, the silent unremarkable, want the peanut gallery to stop harassing you. You are most appreciated whenever you begin your show. This is what we need more of, Pamela Kirby. I need more of that, and now I forget who it was. I think it was D. Elliott, among others, who came after me yesterday, starting the show late. Michael Snyder, you understand, I'm working hard to get the show together, And then I got technical crap I got to deal with.
We are on Marquee Standard Time. I understand what's happening.
Thank you very much. Michael gets it. Thank you for the support. I need it. Happy Friday, MT community. You all make this fun. Oh, many thanks to you too, Mark. Says Wes is cold with a $5.
I think he's in New York now.
Many parts of America. Yeah.
He traveled from Florida to New York for Thanksgiving, and he's chilly. Yeah.
It can be really, really rough this time of year, and it appears to be rough. I, without any further delay, will offer it up to you, a segment that we brought over from our highly successful radio show that was jerked out from under us when they took away our radio station, the whole station. That was the only way they could get rid of our show, Michael. They had to tear down the whole station.
I want to promise you something, Mark. I check the ratings in San Francisco on a regular basis, whether I'm there or not.
Yeah.
And KGO has disappeared since doing this vile stuff.
That is true.
And in fact, the right-wing station that's also owned by the same conglomerate, tanking baby in the numbers.
Oh, no.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
It's a terrible affront to all that is holy. Citizen Morgan says, I better get an alligator story this Friday. Well, I mean, Albert, Commissioner, explain the situation with the winter season.
Yeah, they're cold-blooded animals. So during this time, they're pretty dormant, but we do get the frozen iguanas falling from the trees. This is a normal occurrence in Florida.
Precisely.
So we're getting that instead.
But you can't get alligator stories in the wintertime. Just can't. Let's get
the water's
everybody
too cold. They're chilling. Yeah, they're not doing any crazy things this time of year, unfortunately.
If you flatter Mark enough, says somebody, will he bestow upon you the rod of equity and mercy? Of course. You can buy your way in and flatter your way in. That's the American way. It's the new America where we're completely corrupt. I'm wearing my old school Mark Thompson Show T-shirt. I think it's old school, but.
But Mark, can you take away the rod of equity and mercy? You could giveth, and can you taketh at the same time?
I do have that power, Commish, but I do not exercise it. I don't think I've ever exercised it. I have threatened it. I've threatened people with it.
Kim, I think Kim last year you threatened to remove it.
I think did I threaten Kim with removal?
I think you did at some point last year.
Are you trying to throw me under the bus?
I think you might have held out on giving her.
Are you trying to Admiral Bradley me? Come on.
Wow. I am. I don't remember that.
Joe Fish, Sal the Shoemaker, Joe Box, and Little Anthony.
This is Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
A Florida man with a doormat that reads, "Come back with a warrant." I mean, I love that, man. I got to give him credit. Yeah.
I want that doormat.
A Florida man has a doormat that says, "Come back with a warrant." He is, anybody want to guess what happened to him? He is arrested, is what we wanted to, arrested. The local sheriff obliged his request, returned with a search warrant, and Christopher Mack, 57 years of age, allegedly posing as a fake real estate investor in Volusia County, was nailed. And so after interviewing the detectives involved with this, it was clear that they were able to get a warrant. They were able to go to his house, and he posed as the owner of multiple business properties in the county. And he was a con artist, took out mortgages against the properties and used the cash to purchase even more properties, which he would rent out. From there, the cycle would repeat as he pocketed the rent money.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
He also never paid off the loans, according to the sheriff's office. Albert has a picture both of the defendant and of his welcome mat, which I'm sure you can get a good deal on now, the one that says "Come back with a warrant," because he could use the money. A Florida woman strangles a nurse using the ankle monitor power cord. Again.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Yeah. Charged, though, with attempted murder. Tried to strangle her nurse at the
Awful.
Windmore Healthcare facility in Pinellas Park, according to the cops. 58-year-old Karen Dieter used a power cord from her ankle monitor to strangle the nurse. There she is, and you can rate her booking photo if you'd like. She's wearing the home orange, and doesn't look like she's in the best way. What did you? I'll give her a 4, maybe. Is what I'm thinking. 2 is what I'm seeing. 2 to 6 seems to be the sweet spot.
She's an angry elf. I'll go 5.
Yeah.
This looks like your standard Florida arrest, though. Like
there is a
pretty.
Yes, I agree with Albert. There is a boilerplate quality to the whole thing. Dieter was allegedly out on bond for a separate attempted murder charge in Pinellas County. It's nice that you can get out on bond for attempted murder, by the way. Pinellas Park seems to be the place in Florida if you're going to attempt murder, where they seem to be kind of loosey-goosey about it. But she is now in custody. And finally, 92,000 pounds of suspected... Anybody?
Meth.
And
thank you.
And
cocaine.
We're not done.
Oh, cocaine.
I'm gonna meth, cocaine. I'm gonna put under drugs. This is something other than drugs. Okay.
Oh.
92,000 pounds of suspected drugs. Also,
money, cash.
Porn.
No, you're cold. You're getting colder. Guns and IEDs is what we wanted. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, seized from a Florida warehouse are all those things. It was Breaking Bad on steroid, said one detective.
Look at all of the boxes of. Is that boxes of drugs?
Boxes of drugs and guns.
Wow.
Yeah. A 26-year-old Florida man arrested. It's nice that at age 26 you could do that kind of business. Really, I mean, he built a business. If he'd only used his powers for goodness and niceness instead of illegality and badness. A 26-year-old. What's that?
The boxes are almost the height of the 2 police officers. They're stacked high, like 6 feet high.
It's true. It does. It looks like the Amazon warehouse of stuff you're going to get arrested for having. A 26-year-old Florida man arrested after detectives seized more than 92,000 pounds of suspected illegal drugs, dozens of guns, 5 improvised explosive devices. It was all at a warehouse in Brevard County. The drug operation was described, as I say, a Breaking Bad on steroids. And the arrest took several different agencies to bring it all together. And it equates to about almost $5 million of stuff. IEDs, grenade launchers, automatic weapons, thousands of rounds of ammunition, several pieces of equipment, and a lot of drugs.
Did they arrest people too?
Oh, yeah. They arrested this guy, the 26-year-old, Maxwell Horvath. You got a picture of him, don't you, Albert?
Where did
his booking photo's in there.
Yes, let me grab that.
Yeah, he has kind of a, I don't know. I think he looks a little like, I'm not going to clue you. Albert will show you, and you can see for yourself.
I went to college up at Humboldt State. He looks like somebody I went to college with.
He looks like everybody who tried to sell you weed. Yeah,
yes,
there he
exactly.
is.
Wow.
But he's got, I understand. Look, I know you don't want to hear this at the Christmas season.
Jesus.
But he looks like he's got that angelic face that you see in a lot of pictures of our Lord and Savior. Not the my Lord and Savior is Donald Trump. After Donald Trump, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ is what I'm talking about. Yeah, and what I'm saying is,
I think you're being misled by the wreath of sheriffs.
You're right. You think the
stars, the badges that surround his head, like some sort of glorious.
You think that acts as a filter of some kind, like a divine incandescent filter.
You know, all he needs is the beautiful halo above his head.
Yeah.
No, Mark, this guy's a criminal. He's a criminal.
I think with a makeover, he could stand in at a nativity scene or a, you know what I'm saying.
He looks like a Fish fan, a fan of the band Fish.
Maybe, yeah. All right, it's true.
Surprised.
He could go a lot of different ways with this look. But
I wonder how a young man like that amasses such a cache of drugs, weapons, and explosives. That's like cartel level.
Yeah, it's an impressive resume, Kim, and I'm glad you noticed. Yeah, he's got a bright future. I don't want to end this, but I must. I needed to end it about 20 minutes ago before I started it. But we have to pick a favorite. I don't want to pick a favorite, but we have to. The bylaws of the show require it. So I'll remind you, these are the stories that you heard.
Okay.
92,000 pounds of suspected drugs, guns, IEDs seized from this Florida warehouse. It was Breaking Bad on steroids. The Florida woman who strangled the nurse with an ankle monitor power cord. She was already out for attempted murder. Now she's back in with another count of attempted murder. And the Florida man with the doormat reading, "Come back with a warrant," saw them come back with a warrant and was arrested in a large-scale fraud scheme. What is your favorite? I'm going to ask you first, Michael Snyder.
High marks for self-awareness on that guy with the doormat. I feel like, he knew what was coming, and he laid it out on the floor for everyone to see, and I give him a lot of credit for that. The other stuff could happen in any, loony bin or
Sure.
southern state, I would
Yeah.
think.
You didn't think there was anything particularly, specifically Floridian about it?
Well, maybe the woman who strangles the nurse with the cord connected to her ankle monitor. That's a beauty. No, I'm going to go with number one. I'm opening door number one.
He's going to go with number one.
I'm opening door one, and there's a doormat in front.
You
of it.
like the doormat story. Kim, how about you?
I have to go doormat all the way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's just so
it's
so
a little
Floridian.
perfect. It's a little perfect not to go with it. I mean,
It's
you're not
very
going to
Florida.
find the kind of congruence of circumstance meeting the dare there on the come back with a warrant.
I'm sure they have the come back with the warrant doormat for sale at the local Dollar Tree. So
I think it's a great one.
It's exclusive to Florida, actually.
Did you have a poll up at all, Albert, or have you noticed?
No time for the polls. We got to go quick here. But I could just see in the comments, everybody likes a doormat guy. Doormat guy got what he asked for. He's getting all of our votes too. So that's what it's
like. All right. Doormat guy is the winner. Come back with a warrant. That's Friday Fabulous Florida.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
I am loving it. Just wanted to see what I'm trying to figure out. I don't have any time, Michael. I'm really I'm stuck on time. I don't know.
The Mark Thompson Show.
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Get me way behind, Michael Snyder. I don't know what to do. Anyway, I'm very excited that you're here, though, Michael Snyder. And believe me, it's not this circumstance that we find ourselves in when we don't have any time. You will not be paying any price for it. I assure you.
It's typical.
Yeah. Albert, on the other hand, we will have a talking to.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
And so we have to move it along. So this is our Friday regular visit with a guy who knows the world of music, of streaming, of film. He knows subtitled movies. He knows Marvel movies. He knows all of these wondrous worlds that entertain us. He comes and goes on a rainbow. He's the brilliant Culture Blaster Michael Snyder. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Mark. It's the Three Musketeers here at the show. Mark and Kim, and of course, Albert. I'm happy whenever I deal with you guys, but I'm a little disappointed after the Johnny Carson expert earlier that you didn't introduce me by saying, "Here's Mikey."
It's nice that you watched the show, Michael.
You could have done that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm relieved that those craven right-wing loons, the Ellisons, who have clamped down on anything progressive or liberal on Paramount or CBS since getting a controlling interest there, are being blocked from acquiring Warner Discovery. Netflix is definitely a better destination for Warners, but if you think that unregulated mergers and acquisitions are good for the culture and the country, I have a Venezuelan fishing boat that I'd like to sell you.
Yeah, no, it's not a good thing, but you're right. In terms of the public discourse, it's probably best the way it went down, but it's going to have a pretty dramatic effect on your world, which is theater exhibitors who are going to be undercut by this.
Absolutely true, and that's why I wanted to deal with it there. And since I am in, the entertainment capital of the world, and I do want to lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah?
I know our relentlessly evil administration has control of America, and they're tightening their grip on our once great nation, but Christmas lights are illuminating the Los Angeles Metroplex from the tree on top of the Capitol Records Tower on Vine Street to the sparkling decorations on the Paramount lot that are visible as you drive by the historic Melrose Gate that we've seen in many, many movies and TV shows. There are dazzling Mickey Mouse-shaped wreaths on the Disney lot in Burbank. I was there a few days ago. Exciting. And I'm just grateful they finally ended the annual elf sacrifice at the foot of the Hollywood sign.
What?
I heard they're replacing that with the stoning of a fired studio executive, but that's just a rumor.
Oh, my God. That is...
God bless America.
Speaking of abominations, let's kick things off on the movie review side with Five Nights at Freddy's 2. So... Mark, the concept of audio animatronics gone sentient, or at very least used to kill people, it's kind of a good one. Not that I would actually want to do that myself. I guess the idea of an abandoned, haunted, knockoff Chuck E. Cheese restaurant called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that features an evil Country Bear Jamboree robot band isn't a terrible twist in that regard. And those things are the essence of Five Nights at Freddy's, which was a wacky and successful 2023 horror movie based on a video game. But, you know, the elaborate backstory behind the sequel, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, with a twisted inventor, a deadly family legacy of psychosis, dead kitty victims coming back as ghosts, all that is so convoluted and made even more so by at least one other defunct and rundown Freddy Fazbear franchise, the introduction of a weird marionette robot that can magically take over and transform unfortunate people in its way, some TikTok paranormal investigators, and a local Freddy Faz Fest that they're going to have in the town where all this nightmarish stuff went down in the first film. Most, if not all of this is addled, even more so than in the first movie. It's obviously and clumsily scripted, in need of too much, you know, what we like to call hand-wavium to make any kind of sense. The world building is as clunky as a bunch of broken robo-mascots that come to life at one point in the movie when the plot, such as it is, requires it. When you figure out the who, when, and how of a mecha killing a scene before it happens, this ain't no Sam Raimi movie. I would venture that most of the blame here could be assigned to Scott Cawthon, the creator of the Freddy's game, who co-wrote the screenplay. And while he may know how to come up with video game creatures, he doesn't know how to fashion a human character or make them interact in any sort of realistic way within the context of this relentlessly silly situation. It's directed by the same director who did the first one, Emma Tammy. It's so great when woman directors are given the chance to do crappy work, the same as male directors. I'm really delighted about that. And there are returning actors like Josh Hutcherson, who is our nominal male lead, a young man whose little sister is entranced by these, you know, mechas, these audio animatronics. Elizabeth Lale, who's kind of related to the creator of the robo creatures. And you know what? Wayne Knight, the beloved Wayne Knight from Seinfeld and many other famous TV and film properties.
He cashes a check in this one too?
Yeah, he plays the local teacher. And as soon as he shows up, I'm thinking like, you're a goner, man. I just knew it instinctively. And I'm sorry, spoiler alert. And one more note, McKenna Grace, a young actress who's on the rise and doing great work, was apparently contracted to be in this movie. And she does her filmography no good by being in this thing. Matthew Lillard is back in a cameo. He was in the first film.
Michael, you hated it. Let's move on.
I'm doing it. Merrily We Roll Along, how appropriate, is a film of the recent and acclaimed 2023-2024 Broadway revival of one of Stephen Sondheim's less renowned musicals. I believe it debuted in 1981. And this tells the story of three friends, a composer, a lyricist, and a playwright. A composer, a lyricist and playwright, and a writer. Those are the three folks coming together and falling apart. Their friendship, goes to hell. But in any case, the story of their ill-fated 3-decade friendship is told in reverse in the manner of Harold Pinter's play and movie Betrayal, and kind of like the Christopher Nolan film Memento. Mm-hmm. And of course, the difference is this is done with numerous songs, one of maybe two, which may linger, although none of them are at the level of Sondheim's immortal Send in the Clowns. As a document of the revival, directed by Maria Friedman, scored by Sondheim, and scripted by George Firth, it features the three leads from that acclaimed run: Broadway superstar Jonathan Groff as the lionized composer Franklin, Daniel Radcliffe, that's right, Harry Potter himself, singing and dancing in pretty fine fettle.
Well, he's a real Broadway actor, and West End actor.
He plays obsessive playwright Charlie, and the bubbly Lindsay Mendez plays writer Mary, who has long yearned to be with Franklin, but to no avail. We see the revival's creative staging on screen, as a lively and very seasoned cast handles multiple characters with ease. If you love old school musicals, albeit with a structural twist, and have or had no chance to see Merrily We Roll Along on the Great White Way or London's West End, this is for you. Anyone else could take a flyer. Some folks just don't get musical theater. Caveat emptor, I enjoyed it. It's in select theaters.
All right. What else do you have?
Well, let's move on to something entirely different. Let's go to Fackham Hall. Now, say the title really fast, Mark.
Fackham Hall.
Yeah, right. That's exactly
I get
right.
it.
Right. This is the UK equivalent of a broad Naked Gun or Airplane-style comedy, only instead of parodying American police procedurals or disaster movies, they take on Downton Abbey type inbred aristocrats, post-World War I, with an Agatha Christie-ish murder mystery thrown in. The jokes, the puns, the visual gags, twists on latter-day references, and bawdy double entendres come fast and furious, minus any raced cars. Although I believe
ding bawdy. I never hear anybody use that
there's
word.
there's a vintage Duesenberg or Rolls-Royce on display here, but there are no Fast and Furious car chases. And the cast is pretty terrific. You get, for instance, Damian Lewis playing the patriarch of the family that runs Fackham Hall. You get, as his wife, the wonderful and talented Catherine Waterston. As the daughter that has to be married off to someone, or they're going to lose ownership of Fackham Hall, Thomasin McKenzie, really wonderful actress, and as her I guess her destined love, Ben Radcliffe. He's a poor boy who ends up working at you get the drill here.
Yeah, they give you the typical plot points that you find in these other.
But it is antic and crazy and rowdy and a lot of fun. Imminently forgettable when it's over, but
He liked Fackham Hall. What else do you have?
Directed by Jim O'Hanlon. So we want to
he's a real thing. Yeah. Okay.
We credit where credit's due. One more quick note. It is in select theaters.
Okay.
All right, let's move on because we must. Let's see. Let's go to something you can watch on Netflix, and it's actually pretty worthwhile. And I know you don't want to leave your home, Mark.
No.
Okay, George Clooney is J. Kelly, is George Clooney in filmmaker Noah Baumbach's latest, the Inside Hollywood dramedy J. Kelly. It's pretty entertaining stuff, although as Baumbach films go, it isn't Marriage Story or The Squid and the Whale, superior films. Clooney at his most smooth and likable place. Kelly, a movie star with an uncanny resemblance to George Clooney. Now, how close is the resemblance? There is an actual Clooney show reel with his legitimate filmography on display.
Wild. That's really wild.
There's a climactic Italian film festival tribute to Kelly and the stuff they show, and as he sits there and gets all emotional about watching it, it's all George Clooney stuff.
And Adam Sandler is in it?
Sandler plays his devoted, long accommodating to the detriment of his family life manager, and family life is actually at the heart of Kelly's own conflicts, as played out in his relationship with his two daughters. The older one, by the way, played by Riley Keough. She's a wonderful young actress, and she's the granddaughter of Elvis Presley. I don't want to
I didn't know that.
overstate the case.
What's her name?
Riley Keough. She's a wonderful actress. And that daughter is estranged. The younger one is more congenial as she's about to leave the nest. In some ways, this tries to infuse a bit of Fellini's 8.5 into its story of a movie lifer examining his choices down the road. As Hollywood satire goes, and there are moments they're pretty cool in that regard, but it's nowhere near as pointed as The Player. And its comedy is miles away from the raucous and hilarious series The Studio, but it has its moments, and Clooney and Sandler are supported by a selection of notable actors and actresses, including Emily Mortimer, who co-wrote the script with director Baumbach. She also plays the Clooney character's hairdresser. Billy Crudup is a frenemy from the acting class days of Kelly's youth. Laura Dern is Kelly's PR agent. Stacy Keach is his dad. Jim Broadbent is a late mentor. Patrick Wilson is a rival actor. Eve Hewson, I love her. She was so good in Bad Sisters. She is the first leading lady Kelly fell for. And of course, Baumbach's partner Greta Gerwig is there as the wife of Sandler's character. And to keep nepotism going. Sonny Sandler plays their daughter. It's actually fairly entertaining. It is in theaters, but it's now streaming on Netflix. I think it's okay to while away a couple hours watching it.
No, you kind of liked it. Okay.
I kind of liked it.
I'm good with that.
All right. A Private Life is something that I found really intriguing. It's having a 1-week run in LA and New York City for award consideration. It is a French film and very much a low impedance French mix of drama and mystery. And it benefits from two of the biggest male stars in France, Daniel Auteuil and Mathieu Amalric, playing opposite Jodie Foster, who speaks French fairly fluently.
She speaks fluently, yeah.
Yeah, she plays an American psychiatrist gone Parisienne. She has the French ex-husband, played by Auteuil, and a grown son, and a roster of patients, one of which is said to have committed suicide, which it suggests to her that that woman may have been murdered by her husband, played by Amalric. So thus we have kind of Hitchcock light.
Oh, that's really cool.
There are some.
Please tell me you like this.
There's some droll moments. I think it's okay.
I'll ding droll.
I'm not jumping for joy over it, but I did enjoy watching it.
Does it feel like a yarn, like a murder yarn, or not really?
It feels like a bit of a throwaway, but it does charm like similar French films of its ilk. It was directed and co-written, and I will say this in wry fashion, by Rebecca Zlotowski, the French director and writer. And so, it's a little different from Jodie Foster. We're used to seeing her in big budget Hollywood stuff or deep dramas that, are shot here in the States or elsewhere. So it's nice to see her out of her usual element, and she delivers in that regard. Is it great? No. Did I enjoy watching it? Yes. A Private Life is in New York and LA for a week. If you want to see it in theaters, it'll be opening wider in January. Okay. This is something that's kind of an outlier, but I was really intrigued by it. We have a lot of really talented people doing a lot of work that isn't groundbreaking or earth-shaking, but let's give them their cred for doing it. 100 Nights of Hero is a somewhat diverting, decidedly ephemeral mix of feminism, Chaucer, Boccaccio-style tale-telling and fantasy.
Oh, my God. It just sounds like it's so...
It's set in a world where 3 moons shine by night, one of them purple, and through the years, society follows the woman-subjugating whims of a mythic creator called Birdman.
Wow, there's a lot going on here, man.
I know. That Birdman, no relation to Alcatraz or to Michael Keaton's character.
Just he's a mythical
and
character.
This guy, Birdman, is played by Richard E. Grant in the preface and in a kind of epilogue.
Wow, Richard E. Grant is
great. No, I mean, the cast is something great. No women in this movie are permitted to read or write, so those that do and tell stories rather than cleave to their husbands and procreate are prosecuted. So we have Maika Monroe playing Cherry, who's sort of a princess type who's kept under the thumb of her husband, who then leaves her with her maid, Hero, played by Emma Corrin, and a friend of his, quote unquote, named Manfred, played by Nicholas Galitzine, who's kind of an English heartthrob actor. And of course, this weird triangle starts generating a little bit of heat. So the question is, will they or won't they? There's a real kind of Emma Corrin's portrayal of Hero has a real Kristen Stewart vibe. You kind of know she's playing for the gay team and whatever. And we want to see whether Monroe's character, Cherry, is going to go for that or go for the swain that's living in the same castle. Mm-hmm. You get Charlie XCX as Rosa, who is a character in the story told by the Hero character. And co-producer Felicity Jones plays... she's the voice of the narrator, and she plays the embodiment of the moon. It's in select theaters. I think it's got a specific kind of audience, and I enjoyed watching it, and I thought it was kind of creative and ambitious. Again, not great, but I can't really say anything bad about it,
Yeah.
It's in select theaters, and I hope your theater is selected.
All right.
And
finish up with something, Michael, as we have to wrap.
I'm going to give you something good.
All right.
La Grazia. Now, I'm a big fan of director and screenwriter Paolo Sorrentino from Italy. La Grazia, to be honest, is not my favorite of his films. That would be The Great Beauty or The Hand of God.
Oh, sure. You really like that.
Oh, yes, indeed. This is comparatively low-key for Sorrentino, but there are plenty of quiet delights throughout and a typically masterful performance by the great Tony Servillo as Italy's outgoing president, who is dealing with the various challenges he faces as he leaves office and as he tries to kind of tidy up his legacy. And his most trusted ally is his daughter. And this is kind of a thoughtful rumination on civic duty and honor, and it's gorgeous to look at, which is to be expected in a Sorrentino movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in select
Ruminations
theaters.
a ding.
La Grazia, it's in select theaters. I would assume it may be one of those nominees that Italy puts forth for the Academy Awards, and just a postscript because I feel it's been out for a week in New York and it's coming out in Los Angeles. At 2 hours and 38 minutes, The Secret Agent requires patience, but it is rewarded with a wild tapestry of criminal escapades, political intrigue, and personal drama amid an exotic setting. It's the end of the 1977 carnival season in Brazil. So Wagner Moura plays tech whiz Marcelo, who's on the run and trying to get out of Brazil with his young son before government agents and other unsavory types in the politically unstable country catch up to him. As such, there are moments of quiet tension, bursts of violence, and a bit of dark humor. And by the way, the late, great German actor Udo Kier makes one of his final appearances here, playing an ex-Nazi who escaped to Brazil after World War II. This is rich, and it takes a little while to get through, but it's worthy. And it won Best Director at Cannes for director Kleber Mendonça Filho, and Best Actor for our hero of the story, Wagner Moura. So that's it. It's in select theaters.
It's in select theaters. The Secret Agent, Wagner Moura, takes a while to get there, but Michael says you're going to like it when you get there. That's The Secret Agent. La Grazia is the Paolo Sorrentino offering, director of The Great Beauty. He says this is a beautiful film as well, La Grazia. And says not as great as The Great Beauty, but it's got its own magic.
It does.
He likes it. 100 Nights of Hero is the male-dominated society. It struck me that there's a lot going on. Felicity Jones, a narrator, a character, and Emily Corrin.
Emma Corrin is good.
Emma Corrin. I don't know.
It's not. For
it didn't sound like it was for me. But you said you buy the premise, you buy the bit.
Exactly.
A Private Life, which did sound intriguing to me, is the Jodie Foster starring offering, and she is a psychotherapist, I guess, who has a patient who might have had something to do with a murder.
She might have committed suicide. That's what they say. But
might have committed suicide.
But Foster's character, her psychiatrist, believes the husband was responsible.
I see. Okay,
and you get Matthew Almeric as the husband.
But Matthew is her patient. Is he not?
No, Matthew Almeric is the husband of the patient.
Right, the husband of the patient. And
yes.
I see. I'm sorry. So no. Okay.
And Danielle Auteuil, the great Danielle Auteuil, plays her ex-husband, not the patients, but the doctors.
All right. Well, it sounds like there's a lot going on.
Yeah, you're going to have to pay attention. Right. Don't watch it when you're sleepy.
Yeah. Anyway, that's in New York and L.A., and it'll be opening wide in a couple of weeks. Jay Kelly is the offering written by Noah Baumbach, George Clooney. It's an inside Hollywood comedy. Clooney is terrific in playing the kind of smooth Hollywood star. Adam Sandler plays his manager. The daughter played by Riley Keough, who is the
granddaughter of Presley.
Granddaughter of Elvis.
She has her own life. Her father, Danny Keough, is a musician, and she took that guy's name.
All right. Has its moments. He likes it. Jim Broadbent's in it. Greta Gerwig, of course. And Michael says it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's
entertaining.
I was entertained. It's not. None of these films are greatness.
Thakka Mahal is the UK equivalent of Naked Gun. Takes on Downton Abbey. Damian Lewis is there with Catherine Waterston, Thomas and Mackenzie, Ben Radcliffe, and directed by Jim O'Hanlon. Michael says you'll enjoy it, especially if you like that kind of thing. Send-ups on those things that you mentioned.
Disposable fun. I think Downton Abbey fans will have a ball watching it.
Merrily We Roll Along is the Broadway revival of the Stephen Sondheim offering. Jonathan Groff, Daniel Radcliffe, Lindsay Mendez. If you're a fan of Broadway and Sondheim, you like this kind of thing, you will like this a lot. A lot of the original cast members there to bring it to life on the screen. Merrily We Roll Along. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is, I didn't ask you. You don't need to see Freddy's 1 to have...
You don't need to see either of them, Mark. That's the point I was trying
Freddy's 2. This is Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is awful. The audio animatronics, they come to life. Wayne Knight's in it. Josh Hutcherson's in it. But it doesn't matter who's in it because it's all not working.
Dumb,
and
clunky.
Michael says, miss it if you possibly
And, we love tearing stuff down. We have to, I relish it. So if I go a little long when I'm attacking something, it's just in the interest of...
I might have... maybe, I don't know, I can't. Maybe you start with something good, but maybe not. Maybe you start with something bad.
This is the biggest release of the week in movie theaters. There's nothing comparable to it across the board.
I get it.
And so that's unfortunately how I felt I had to start. Yeah. Next week, we'll lead with the new Avatar film because that's the big banger.
Of course. That is exciting. All right. Well, if you have nothing more, Michael, we are way over time.
We've exhausted it. We'll talk about TV stuff next week, maybe.
All right. I'm excited about that. So without any further delay, Michael, I'd like to mention to people that you can be read. A lot of your material, I think, is really coming to life on the written page. And that is voice... what is it again?
TheVoiceSF.org. You can also dig into the archives of the marinatimes.com to find coastal commuter columns. And I will be at La Luz de Jesus tonight for an art opening. If you're in town, it's on Hollywood Boulevard, and it's always a blast.
Are a culture creature in 2 cities on the West Coast, Los Angeles and San Francisco. I wish you the very best. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Bye-bye, Michael.
Shout out to the Remarkables. Love you all.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, it is really, really late, and I wish I could hang out longer, but I've sort of hung out too long already. So
The Mark Thompson Show.
I don't know what to do aside from quickly saying Vilma hit us with a $5 super chat. Vilma, thank you. It seems like the Saudis have their fingers in too much of the American economy. Their fingers are in our politics and now in our sports, entertainment, and news. By the way, I think the latter part, sports, entertainment, and news, is really the way they culturally have locked into American society. It's a really clever move for a super wealthy kingdom to, in essence, take over a kind of part of American culture, and in so doing, exert leverage over American culture. It's a fascinating thing the Saudis are doing, and it just shows how in a capitalist society, money rules, and everybody's can be bought and paid for. I mean, literally everyone. Entertainers now going to this festival in Saudi Arabia. You've seen how the golfers go, PGA Tour, right? Well, now we're over here. And even the PGA Tour is like, okay, well, anyway. Citizen Morgan, $4 super sticker, and thanks to everybody who contributes to the show.
Big shout out.
I don't mention it at the beginning when we were first getting going, but critical is Patreon and PayPal. You'll find links to both under this video. Maybe we'll try to mention it earlier in the show next time because it's important. Without the Patreon and PayPal support, we go away because the YouTube revenue is massively down. I mean, it's alarmingly down, and that's not because of viewership. We have views, but it's because of advertisers. So that's sort of the arithmetic on the show. Sandra Thomas with a $10 super sticker. Wow, Sandra, thank you, and a big shout out to you, Sandra. That's super cool. Thank you for recognizing the need and making it happen. Find Michael Snyder at thevoicesf.org. Many of you ask, how can I read? How can I drink in more Michael Snyder? Thevoicesf.org. Well, another week has passed. Next week, that keeps coming up. Find Michael Snyder at thevoicesf.org.
Well, you just said it, so I thought I'd, help.
I see. All right. Kim, how are you? Kim, how are you? All right. Kim, you have the after party. You want to say anything else before we wrap up?
Yeah, Tim Sika's going to be on the after party. We'll talk more movies.
Oh, that's cool. You guys can, platform off of our stuff. Albert, Kamish, you have anything for us before we leave?
Oh no, I'm heading your way for a couple of days and coming right back for football. So.
I love it.
Headed down south.
So much fun to spend a week here on this platform. And now, the great Shadow Stevens.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Everyone have a great weekend. Ding dong with you, Mark.
Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.